Welcome back. The sweeping pardons from President Trump for the 1,500 January 6th rioters did not end all of their legal problems. Take this man, Dan Wilson. You can see he was there at the Capitol. He's wearing a gas mask, found in a lot of different places. Yep, there he is again. Well, a month before the Capitol attack, Wilson posted online this, quote, "I am ready to lay my life on the line. It is time for good men to do bad things." Trump pardoned him after he pleaded guilty to one charge of conspiracy to impede or injure an officer and other conduct on January 6th. But yesterday, a Justice Department prosecutor struggled in court to articulate whether that pardon should also cover separate gun charges that Wilson pleaded guilty to as well. During the hearing, the judge said pardons had to have a, quote, fixed meaning and a clear definition. NBC's justice correspondent Ryan Riley has been following the January 6th cases closely. And Ryan, this is an interesting case for the Justice Department. What exactly did they argue about the scope of Wilson's pardon?
Yeah, it's a really difficult position for this Justice Department attorney to be in. And the judge, said that pretty frankly, because they did a 180 full reversal on this. Just a few weeks ago, they were saying that the clear language of the pardon does not apply to this completely separate crime that this individual, Dan Wilson, admitted to committing in his home state in 2023. So basically what happens is his home is searched. They find a new crime off of that. And then he is charged with that crime and pleaded guilty with that crime. Now, the plain language of the pardon, the way it is written, has been interpreted by judges and initially by the Justice Department that this applied to crimes that happened on January 6th at the Capitol, in or around the Capitol. But now, because the Justice Department says they got clarification on the intent of the pardon, basically meaning they've heard from Donald Trump what they think what they want to do here, they're trying to broaden this out. And so it's really been scattershot all over the board with these Justice Department lawyers making these arguments. But, the judge in the court yesterday really grilled the attorney there about whether or not it applied here. And one of the cases that she compared it to was this case involving actually sexual exploitation of a child and in fact, actually child pornography charges. And that involved an individual named David Daniel. And so that was the comparator she was making. What the Justice Department was trying to attempt to do was create a rule that would leave out child porn charges because they don't want those cases pardoned, but would keep these weapons charges. The struggle there is that those things were both found during those searches, right? So child porn was found on this individual's computer, allegedly, when they searched his home. The same sort of thing with a gun charge.
So those are a couple of examples. But if we take a step back, I know there are other people who got pardons for January 6th but are now facing new legal trouble. You've been tracking this. Who else stands out, and where are they now?
Yeah, I mean, you've had a lot of crimes that were committed by January 6 defendants before and after. Some people had really horrifying criminal records before the attack, and then a number of people have been arrested for crimes after the attack. So, as one example, Matt Huddle was actually killed in a traffic. He pleaded guilty to that charge of entering and remaining on the restricted building or grounds in connection with the Capitol, and then he was shot and killed during a traffic stop by an Indiana sheriff's deputy. And then you had Theodore Mindendorf. That's an individual who pleaded guilty to destruction of government property, and then he was accused of an act of sexual penetration by Illinois prosecutors, and the state records indicate that his victim was 7 years old. And then Andrew Taki, he's someone I followed pretty closely. This was an individual who assaulted officers with a metal whip at the Capitol, and he was actually caught because a woman went onto Bumble in the aftermath of the January 6th attack and started chatting up guys and got many of them to admit that they were at the Capitol, got him to admit to being on the front lines. Lo and behold, he actually had a previous charge that involved a sex crime against soliciting a minor online that actually predated the January 6th attack itself. So he was subsequently then arrested on those state charges. But the struggle there is that federal prosecutors, because of this pardon, had let him go, and then so Texas authorities eventually had to find where he was. Anna.
Really interesting. Ryan Riley, thank you for your reporting.